In over 3 decades, I've learned that truly great car dealerships are only great because of one thing: leadership. So I'm sitting down with the great men and women inspiring automotive on TimTalks,
automotive leadership and beyond.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, for yet another edition of TimTalks. And I will tell you that this one tugs at the heartstrings a little bit. This one is going to be special because when we talk about leadership, you cannot talk about leadership in automotive without talking about one of my dearest, closest friends, someone that I, not to get mushy just to start, but that I truly look up to as I try to be a better leader, as dealers fly their people into his store. What he's done in his store is nothing short of incredible. Look, everybody knows I'm in the software space, but I've got to tell you that, yes, there's softwares that'll help your business, but nothing will help your business more than leadership. And with that intro, I have the one and only, my dear friend, Patrick Abad of Beaver Toyota. Patrick, thank you, brother. I know you're busy. Everybody's pulling at your coat, trying to get you to go this way and that. Thank you so much. I'm humbled that you took just a few minutes to hang out with us today, brother.
No, thank you, Tim. I'm honored to be here. I'm honored to hang with you. And I love what you're doing, dude. So it's an honor.
Awesome. Well, thank you. And listen, man, I'll just go right into it. We talk about leadership a lot, and there's a gazillion books, and everybody's got their favorite. You and I are big John Maxwell fans. In fact, we had Lynn Hudson on a little while ago, which everyone will see soon. And Lynn used to work for you. And I think, especially when we're talking about Maxwell, Maxwell says as a leader, you don't need to accumulate followers. You need to create other leaders. So tell a little bit about your story. We met a decade ago, right. 2015 in Tampa. And what you were there, you worked for another incredible leader, another incredible human, John Williams, down in Tampa, Florida. But just kind of tell me, obviously you got into that story, you started watching John's leadership, and then kind of tell me what transformed you and some of the things that worked in and through your life to develop into the leader you are today.
Well, I mean, I look at my career and, the thing about leadership for me, and I think I always sum it up, Tim, is just come through for people. I think that's the simplest, and there's you got to get deep into that, but truly, you come through for people. And throughout my entire career from Orlando to Tampa, now here in Atlanta, I think that's been the secret of it. And, I've watched throughout the years in automotive, I've been around good leaders and I've been around bad leaders. Amen. I think the key is to identify which is which and know it, right? And I think the good ones, that's what I took away from them. And the bad ones, it's so funny because when everybody always asks about leadership and people, and I said, hey, growing up in the car business, you see two things. You see who you want to be, or you see who you don't want to be. And you just got to execute on those two principles. That's who I want to be, and I got to execute. That's who I don't want to be, and I'll never be that person. So I would say if you just live on those three principles in our industry, I think you can get a lot of followers by doing the right thing.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, look, we could be here 3 hours. I've heard a lot of the stories of you pouring into people, but let's talk about, you were obviously at a very successful dealership in Tampa, Florida. You end up moving to Cumming, Georgia. And yes, growing county, extremely fast, expanding. But at the same time, obviously the store wasn't doing what it is now. But with that thought, something that is extremely unique, and quite frankly, I've heard of one of two people, but you have 40 plus people that left their jobs in Tampa, Florida. And as far as I know, I live here in Atlanta, and I mean, you're about an hour and 20 minutes from me. There's no beach, unless I miss something. There's no beach in Cumming, Georgia, right? There's no There's no palm trees. There's no beach. There's not a lot of sun, maybe some sunscreen because it gets hot down here. But the fact that 40 plus people moved their families over just a few years to come to Beaver Toyota, I think is an incredible testament to you, to Mr. Beaver and his wife and his family and the leadership that he's provided for you, to you, and for what you've done there. So walk me through that, because it just wasn't like wave a magic wand and all of a sudden we're selling 600 cars a month. We're the largest dealership in Georgia, and everybody wants to come here. Kind of walk us through that process, because I know it wasn't easy in the beginning, and I think that's what people tuning in, dealers tuning in, that sales manager. I want to speak to that sales manager that may be new on the desk. He's brand new in a store. Maybe you're a GSM, GM, finance man, sales, whatever that is. Take us through the process. No names, obviously, but the process of what you had to kind of weed through to get the right culture, to get the right team there at Beaver Toyota.
Well, I think our industry, there's a lot of people who say who they are, and then there's people who truly are.
Amen.
Right?
Amen. You nailed it. Yes, sir. Keep going.
Yeah, and I think a lot, and forgive me for lack of a better words, but there's a lot of convenient Christians too, right?
Amen. Yeah.
So
sounds good.
When I looked at it, there was a lot. There's a lot of people who moved up, and they came to come in Georgia, and that they're not in the beaches of Florida, not beaches, Tampa, but what they wanted was what we offered, right? It starts with Mr. Beaver, right? Mr. Beaver allows his operators to run the store, and it's based on principles of doing the right thing, right? Allowing people to be, we call it free to fail, make mistakes as long as you learn from them, and more importantly, like the main three principles that I believe in leadership, and you can keep people forever and get them to follow you to the end of the world. Pay them fair. You don't have to overpay them. Certainly don't underpay them. Pay them fair for the job that they're doing. Give them opportunity for growth. I think people need to know what's next, right? They need to know, how do I get to the next level? How do I get more responsibility? How do I make more money, right? And treat them with respect. Tim, if you do those three things, people will follow you to the end of the world. Pay them fair. Opportunity for growth, treat them with respect. And I think if you ask me why 40 plus, we're over 50 now, we're right at 60.
Sorry, I'm behind.
And I say that because people still move, right? Because people, the last couple of years has been really good for everybody. And I think this is just I think people were making so much money where they were at, they put up with a lot of nonsense. Mm-hmm. And now that things have shifted a little bit, people are saying, I'm going to go where people are going to treat me with respect. I'm going to go where I have opportunity for growth. Okay, if I'm not going to make X amount of dollars anymore, the offset's got to be, I got to love what I do, who I do it with, and who I do it for. And I think if you can build a culture, and I hate that word, but I believe it. If you can build a culture where people love that, they love what they do, who they do it with, and who they do it for, you keep them. They're not going anywhere. And what made this deal special is Mr. Beaver believes that as well. And then he allows me to operate within that filter of those three things. So he always says, and it's so funny, we do very well, right? We're extremely financially well. We do well as a dealership. But we don't do well because we know how to manage a financial statement. We actually don't do well because we know how to sell cars. We do well because we know how to develop our people. And let our people go to work. And, he tells me all the time, hire the right people, get out of their way. Hire the right people, get out of their way. But it's bigger than that. It's not hiring good car people, right? It's hiring good humans who know the difference between right and wrong. And they'll die on the sword for right? Do the right thing over and over again and watch what happens.
It's so true. Unfortunately, the world that we live in, I like to say everyone is Miss America on a job interview. Everybody, for the most part, if they're in the front half of the store and even some of the back half, as far as service advisors and other, I'm speaking generally, everybody's Miss America. Everybody's going to, they know what you want to hear. So therefore, as salespeople, we're the easiest closer. We're the easiest to be closed. Oh, this guy's great. I've been guilty of it so many times, even as Car Now has grown, and from me in the field to 250 people, and I know you have more employees than that. I mean, it's hard to keep up with, and you're like, oh, and we use those words. Oh, this guy or this girl's gonna be a rock star. Oh, and we get closed, and then we put them behind the chair. We get someplace, and we're like, oh, wait. Is this the same person that we just talked to? So I think it's so important that we are asking deeper questions, not only on interviews, but for references and why. And there's reasons people are leaving. I think something unique that you do in your story, and quite frankly, it's even challenged me. And I love you, brother. We have some pretty deep conversations, whether they spiritual, about business. I mean, we go into the deep end of the pool. And one of the most incredible things that I've learned from you is, having people all over the country. I can't do this, but communicating with our leadership and even people that are, whether they're sales managers or where they're at, how they're going to move up. You said, and I wrote this down, opportunity for growth. That's what people want. They want, a lot of people want words of affirmation, the 7 love languages, that book, right? That's true of everybody. People want they want affirmation, sometimes even, believe it or not, more than finances. But something unique that I've seen in your store and your store only is you literally, like in your quick lube area, if my memory serves, you literally have 7 things, correct me, Patrick, on what they need to do on the wall to move up to the next level. And then the next level knows, whether that's an ASE, a master tech, or whatever, that they know where they need to be. And those types of things are right there. There's no question. In your dealership, no matter what spot you're in, you know what you need to do because it's communicated to them. I think that one of the biggest, again, to steal Maxwell, laws of leadership is vision and communication. And the communication and vision, but communication you knock out of the park. What drove you to finally say, okay, I'm just going to plaster it different places in the dealership?
Listening to our people. A lot of times when people were leaving or quitting or going to work somewhere else, it was like, well, I'm getting a better opportunity, or they think in their head, right? Or I don't know what's next. I don't know what my future holds, but, and they got sold a pipe dream somewhere else. So I said, we got to take that out. People, and it goes actually to the guest experience too, Tim. I think it goes hand in hand. Most people just want to know what's next. What's next? I think what's special about that is we take the income side out of it. When you start today as a level 1 express tech, you know what you have to learn to make more money, how long you have to do it, and what you have to, all the criteria to get to the next level. But then right there, right on the same board, is how much pay you get. So it's not, you take out that guesswork on the pay. I think that's a big part of it, right? People are like, well, how much does he make? How much? No, cool. If I'm a level 2 and you're a level 2, this is what you get. I'm a level 4 technician in the shop, and I have this many ASE certifications, and I'm a Toyota expert, and all these things. Everybody knows what everybody's going to make. We take the guesswork out, which creates, to me, sometimes I think the financial aspect of our business creates a culture problem, right? People are always wondering what this guy's making, what that guy's making, and I just want to be transparent on it. But more importantly, it was that what's next thing. Everybody who sat in front of me would always say, what's next? What's next? What's next? And I got frustrated saying, I can't communicate to 250 people all the time. Well, wait, I can. I can go into the department. We have that board in parts. We have that board in the shop. We have that board in express. I have the board up in sales. I have 6 different levels of salespeople. We learned through salespeople that they wanted a couple different things. I want to do more. I want to learn more. I want to make more. Cool. So we created 6 different levels of salespeople, because back in the day, what we saw was, when somebody sold 20 cars to them, they threw their hand up and said, I want to be a sales manager. I want to be a manager. I want to be a manager. Well, why do you want to be a manager? Want to make more money, want more responsibility. And what people didn't realize, we could build that right in our sales department. So there's 6 different levels of salespeople, right? The average salesperson makes X amount of dollars. There's the low end, there's the high end. But the level 1 salesperson, that person gets to learn the product. My level 6 salesperson, we call it a Beaver Master, can pencil their own car deals, spin their own deals, appraise their own trades. They're borderline a manager without the responsibility of leading people, without the responsibility in some people's eyes, babysitting people. But those are guys that would probably want a manager position because they need to make more income. So I pay them big money to go manage their own business. And then I have the offset of these different levels, right? So it's growth. People see it. They know exactly what's next.
Listen, ladies and gentlemen, if you are new to sitting on a chair in any type of management position, if you've been in this business 30 years like me, that I think I want to park there for a second. When you talk about putting it in your face, I think one thing, and I've never been at this particular place I'm going to talk about where it literally doesn't look like Black Friday for country folk like me, and that's Buc-ee's. Have you ever been to a Buc-ee's that's not slammed? What does Buc-ee's literally have outside and all over their business? They literally have a tiered system. You can make $275,000 a year being a general manager of a Buc-ee's, but they've got the entry level. Hey, you come in, you're going to make $15 an hour, and they have it all the way down. So you know exactly. So I think you're onto something there. I really believe, Patrick, to back up this, if I'm going to knock on some noggins, including mine, I gave a talk one time that's called "What's It Like to Be on the Other Side of You?" Unfortunately, my wife reminds me of that sometimes. Tim, you remember that talk? Let me just tell you how it's like to be on the other side of you right now. You suck. So I've been on the bad end of that. But in all seriousness, I really believe, and this is what, listen, when I think about Patrick and the success that you've had, I'll try not to get, I'm that emotional guy because I truly love your brother, like a brother. But the thing that blows my mind is the humility. And I think that and lean in here a little bit, ladies and gentlemen, seriously, just the great philosopher Michael Jackson said it best. You need to start with the man or the woman in the mirror. And as you're listening to this podcast, only you know what's going on in your brain. Only you. And sometimes we think that we are the smartest person in the room. And we think because we've been doing this car business for 10, 20, 35, 5 days, that we know everything and that we walk into sales meetings with the answer, no matter what anybody presents, already in our head, and no one's going to tell us what it is. What happens when we lead with humility? When we lead, there's a difference. I tell people all the time, there is an inherent difference between confidence and conceit. We need to be confident in our leadership, right? We need to be confident in what we're doing, but there's a big difference between conceit when we start that evil word, that 5-letter word named pride sneaks in. And I would argue in every dealership and every business that the two, and I think they're almost the same thing. I've said it for years, but I truly believe that you have not allowed this to creep in. And when it does creep into your dealership, you squash it. The word pride and insecurity. People get insecure. And it goes back to exactly what you were just saying. You were saying, everybody knows if I'm a level 1, if I'm a level 2, it stops that, oh my gosh, I wonder what she's making. I wonder what he's making. He's talking to Patrick behind closed doors. I wonder if they're talking about me. All that stuff. Right. And when you eliminate that, you create a culture that people want to be there, and people want to believe and work for something bigger than them. Yes, look, ladies and gentlemen, we're just selling cars. I get it. But you don't have to be around Patrick. You don't have to wear. We were at a golf tournament. Patrick has this, the 3rd annual Beaver Toyota charity golf tournament where he raised well over $100,000 and gave it to local charities. Yeah, we're just selling cars, but he's given back. Can you talk about that a little bit? Because you opened up and I want people, and a lot of people do this. I do think the majority, a lot of dealers do this with the community, but being, making a major impact, if you want to in your community, you got to give back to the community. Can you kind of word it better than I did. You kicked off the tournament with that, and that got everybody.
My words, and I truly believe this. I truly do. As a successful business in a community, you have a responsibility to give that back to the community that allows you to be successful. Because without that community supporting, we're a car dealership. Without that community coming to us and giving us their hard-earned money, I wouldn't be successful without them. So I think it is a very hard responsibility that some take and some don't. Some glom it. And I just, not to get all spiritual, but I do believe that as we put it back and we're helping change lives from selling cars and servicing cars, that it's one of the reasons why we continue to be successful. I really do. And I think the reality that it's more than writing checks. I want to make that yes, the government raised over $100,000. We put it right back, but it's more than that. Our people, they go out hands and feet in the community and they paint cabins at camps for kids with disabilities. Or tomorrow, my entire showroom is going to be annihilated with 300 foster kids tomorrow picking up their backpacks for school, completely filled by all of the Forsyth County partners. There's multiple businesses are going to set up and they're going to get backpacks over here and they're going to get their pencils and they're going to walk through and the sheriff's going to be here and they're going to have games for the kids and and 300 foster kids are going to make to feel like they're at home here at Beaver Toyota. And some people don't see it like I want them to see it. Okay, cool. You're doing a good thing and this and that, but you got a business to run and all that. We are going to be successful because of those things that we do. I firmly believe that. So anyway, never stop giving back to the community that allows you to be successful. Without them, you're nothing.
But again, overwhelmed, overjoyed, and I'll try to keep it together as I am now officially on the back nine of life, right? I mean, things change, you full of piss and vinegar, 20s, 30s, up the ladder in the dealership. As 10 years ago, we start car now, and we've had some success. And if you want to be, you want to be be humble and beat up, be an entrepreneur. But through all of that, if all else fails, man, I want to make a difference in the lives of people that I come in contact with. Like I want, and I would argue that, brother, you do that to the next level. And this is just not a fest of, blowing smoke to each other. I'm just telling you, man, something happens when you wake up grateful and you approach the day with how can I be the hands and feet? How can I serve? How can I make that person? How can I pour into that? I'll tell you this. I've told this story before. I was 17 years old at the great automotive dealership, Jake Sweeney. Shout out to Jake Sweeney Automotive. Sarah, Robert, Kobe, all you guys are still there, partners of Car Now, which I'm humbled that this little 17-year-old punk kid back in 1989 started selling cars. And you took a shot on me. But I'll never forget it. Sales manager by the name of David. And I came in guns a-blazing. I had a little talent and I started selling cars right off the bat. But then all the old car dogs that have been around since the 50s and 60s, it's the 80s now, 89. And they're telling me, all this bad stuff. And one of the sales managers saw that. And he came down and he said, "Hey, Tim, let's take a walk." And all he did, and it may be just this for you, all he did was walk me up the hill on the lot, still the car lot, and right across the street. I never went hungry, but we didn't have a lot growing up. And he pointed at this house, which was about 3 times the size of the house that I lived in and grew up in. He said, "Timmy," he said, "you have a lot of talent. I haven't seen it." And he said, "This business will be so good to you if you just block out the noise and do what you have been doing. You can afford a house like that someday." And as maybe materialistic as you think that might be, or superficial as you think that, he took the time 30 plus years ago, 35 years ago almost, to take a 10-minute conversation with me, pour into me. He saw what was going on, and it changed everything. It gave me I still have a picture of that house. I took it because I drive by it every time I go to see my dad now. It's still there. I still take a picture of that house. And now my house is bigger than that house. So, I mean, we have been blessed. God has been blessed, not only materially, but just by the lives and the people and you, brother, that God has put in my life to, as we do life together, hopefully we can come together as a community. Car dealers, car men and women are some of the best humans on the planet, some of the biggest hearts. So as we land the plane, we want to I know people are busy and probably hopefully commuting to and from work, or maybe you're at lunch, but if you were to talk to that sales manager, GSM, that person, sales that's struggling and trying to make a difference in maybe a brand new store, or make a difference, and they've had the same voice in a store for 5-10 years, who knows, what would you, if it was just you talking to them about changing the culture and being the leader that makes a big difference in their store, what would you tell them?
I would say there's 3 takeaways. Build equity, meaning do things for people over and over and over and over again, without wanting anything back. Do it for them. Be a yes leader. Find a way to say yes. Every time you find to say yes, whether it's saying yes to them taking off extra time for their family, yes to a car deal that you shouldn't really actually make. Find a way to be a yes leader. Have grace. People make mistakes. Allow them to learn from those mistakes. The more grace you give, the more buy-in you'll have. And I think the last thing I would say is, what you would do for the one, do for the many. Here's what I mean by that. There's that one person in the store. He's maybe the top performer, good attitude. He does a lot of things right. You would do so much for him. If he called you and said he was moving tomorrow and needed help, half the store would jump in a car and drive to his house. We'd all do that for that high performer, that one awesome team member. If you do it for him or her, do it for everyone, and watch what happens.
Brother, you've dropped some golden nuggets today. Thank you for carving out a few minutes of your busy schedule. Ladies and gentlemen, what an incredible session today. Thank you for dropping in. Thank you, Patrick, for your time. Listen, click on the link for more information below, where you can find more Tim Talks. And as I always say, listen, no one is smarter than everyone. Guys, we'll just continue to try to get better together. We love you. We will see you next time on Tim Talks. See you soon.